Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of Paradigm Shift and Educational Comedy. We have me, Dave Kelso, of course, along with Richard Hamilton and my father, Walter Kelso, who is a Vietnam vet and currently in the process of recovering from a broken leg and cancer and all that good stuff, because Agent Orange is just so ummy-nummy, note my sarcasm. Today we're going to talk about an incident that happened, I do believe it was on July 30th, yesterday, where, you had some teenagers and a pregnant chick and, just a bunch of, family-type people, whatever, out at some sort of veterans memorial in Winona, Minnesota, when these guys claiming to be, Vietnam vets come up and start, physically wrecking their tent and harassing them and getting in their face and threatening them to beat their ass, and the cops were called and everything. So we just watched that video, but I'm going to play that back again for, the rest of everybody who's joining us now, and we're going to get my dad's opinion on that from the perspective of a veteran. And then, of course, there's that other guy claiming to be a veteran. We don't know if he actually was. Could have been a stolen valor thing. But the guy also apparently runs some sort of a business in the local area, and that information, was made public, and, there's a website and everything. And Richard even tried to call the number just for fun, and there was the sound of someone picking up, a dog barking in the background, and then the phone just hanging up again. So they're probably getting a lot of crank calls and stuff as a result of this video going online. But here is the video itself.
Okay, good. You aren't sitting in that fucking tent and you got hammocks put up down here. That's it. You can be down here peaceful just like you are. This isn't a fucking park. My dad was the... Yeah, I called them, so they're coming too. This is fucking bullshit. Any one of you. Yeah, so was mine. So was my dad in the fucking Vietnam veteran. I went Veterans Park. We don't need big shit. You don't have to be veterans. No, you're not. Maybe when they put a couple piercings in your head. That's it, right? We've already asked those guys to take the hammocks out of the tree. Okay, well, let's see. The cops are coming. The cops are coming. Yeah, they're going to watch you fucking blow everyone around you. What do you mean for? They run down here and they tell us you're not doing anything bad, you're not fucking violating anything on the state, on the city, nothing. They can't do anything from us sitting down here. They just tell us to have a good day. They've been down here how many times? Yeah. But his dumbass called that hammock in the other day and the cop told him to leave. He should record it, which is a good thing.
Tim Reed.
Tim Reed, sweet. Recommend nobody use that fucking company.
Oh, there won't be.
You're very disrespectful.
Very
So are you.
I've already asked him to be respectful.
You're not. You're disrespectful.
Like
an asshole.
Oh, and he bent it. You want to get that on there? Yeah, get the fucker. Who gives a shit? Why would you? Because I'm a fucking veteran. This is a respect. Those are like fucking. These are like fucking gravestones right there. It's like a fucking gravestone.
No, it's not.
What do you mean? No, it's not. You're a fucking camera.
You're a real jerk.
Oh yeah, I'm a jerk. You're a real jerk. Take my fucking picture. Yeah, it was Bruce fucking Reed.
Recording.
Yeah, go ahead, record it.
Okay.
Can you record it when I fucking knock you out? You're gonna record your own knockout?
Do you want to go to jail?
I don't give a shit if I go to jail or not.
Let me shake your hand. I don't want to touch yours.
Where's your
That's
fucking,
because I work for a living.
fucking nose? Your daughter has it. His daughter has it.
Don't, Bruce. He wants to do that. Don't.
You're going to jail, bud. You're going to
He
jail.
wants to do that.
You're going to jail.
Go to jail or not?
He wants to
Maybe
do
you
it.
guys will get the fucking message then.
Yeah, hit the girl.
Knock the fuck
Tell him to knock it out.
Cameras
He
all
didn't
over
say
you.
shit.
Cameras all over you. Hey.
Tell him to knock it out. He took my property. I'm on. I give a fuck.
All right, get the camera. Get the camera. Get the camera. Get this guy in jail.
Yeah. Anything. So maybe you guys will fucking think this is serious or not.
No, we don't.
Look at me, no you don't, you little fucker.
Talk back to him.
I mean,
No point.
I'm underage, so.
I don't give a fuck if you're underage or not. I'm 68, so go ahead.
Get him smiling. Get him smiling. Brandon,
So keep your fucking mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut.
you fought for right of speech. He can
You didn't fight for it, did you?
I said you fought.
Yeah.
Listen,
So that's why I'm asking you not to fucking be here.
Somebody that's not
Because I
recording, actually
thought-
call 911 now.
Everybody,
This is actual-
I already got the fucking cops coming.
And he said he's going to tear it down. That's what he did. We had the cops here about 10 times. Good. From him. And they all got- Well, maybe sooner or later you'll get out.
This shit about a fucking
You'll
tent.
be an ordinance.
And you're
You won't be in
picking
here.
on
Obviously,
everything
you guys
that's
care
fucking
about
fucking
them. It's not a fucking campground.
We've had vets come through here thanking us for
Yeah, I did too before.
What was that? For what?
Not like a
Walking,
fucking
wrecking the grass?
campground. For people showing up.
Wrecking all the grass? Yeah.
Nobody
You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, you are.
You're an idiot.
And yelling at people for hanging a cloth hammer. Yeah! Yeah!
Knock the tree down.
I was hoping he was fucking here
You know how
tonight.
much the maintenance in this
There
is
they
in
are.
here? There they are, yeah.
Awesome, we got good tools.
Go fucking over and talk to him.
That's personally all. Good.
They're getting really violent. Beats better.
They've literally attacked.
So,
Yeah, I tore the fucking tent down.
Okay,
It's not
yeah.
supposed to be here.
I can talk to you.
Hey, I'll talk with you in 1 second, but you just want to stay right there.
No problem.
Who's this, Bill? Who? Oh, yeah, Bill. Yeah. No, we're down there. We called him before we came down here. Yeah. Mr. Pearson down here with his pregnant wife. Guy's hiding behind her.
I'm glad you're not on the fucking ground right now. I'll tell you that. How would you like if I said something about your pregnant wife? How would you like
What
that?
the fuck you have to say about me?
I didn't say anything about you. He's talking about my daughter earlier. I'm gonna fucking knock
Really
him
strong
out.
to do that when the cops are here. Real strong.
She Rasmussen was down here. on
Crazy old man.
on Sunday with me.
Hey, Eric, I talked with him. I started.
The guy in the grave. I told
Pretty
him what I was
sick.
gonna do. I said, "Will you respect me?" I'm gonna fucking tell him. This shit's going on for free.
Beat this guy.
I'm gonna yell back.
Jesus. Dude, I'm getting
Well,
close
if anyone's
up.
making a mess, you tell them like we're
I
gonna.
wouldn't mind getting punched to get these veterans out of here.
We've had together.
I almost wish he would have punched me. He was close. He was close. He was there, but out of here.
You got in your face. The face pretty.
I'm scared though. I gotta lose out of two. I don't really want to lose it.
Did he put his hands on you?
I don't know.
I was recording.
Seemed like you did.
I don't remember.
I started.
I wouldn't have mind getting punched either to get those fucking whack jobs in jail. Good
Oh yeah,
freaking lord.
I mean, you know, I don't trash talk our men and women in the military. I don't trash talk veterans. You know, I respect veterans. You know, I come from a family of veterans. I've had uncles. I've had my grandfather served in the Army Corps of Engineers and helped build the I-5 corridor. And you know, I respect our men and women in uniform, but I'm sorry, you know, I'm going to be frank and say, you know, assholes like that make good veterans look bad. I'm just going to put that out there, you know. It's guys like that that make everybody question whether or not most veterans have any sanity. You know, when they pull dick moves like that and create problems when there doesn't need to be a problem.
And fighting for our freedom of speech and then telling people to shut up when they try to invoke their own freedom of speech. And it's like, I'm a veteran, you're not, so you be respectful and you shut up and you obey.
Your opinion is not valid. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was just the way he was acting was totally, in all manner of regards, a total violation of the Constitution. I mean, you know, he's throwing his weight around like, I'm a vet, look at me, I'm a vet, I'm entitled, blah, blah, blah. It's like...
He broke his oath. He broke his oath.
Yeah.
Which, if I were there, I'd have reminded him of that, and I would have said, that's violating your oath, and guess what? According to the Constitution, not that anybody really enforces it anymore, apparently, but according to the Constitution, breaking your oath is treason. So it's like, I'd rather be the guy, the peaceful guy here with the tent than the guy committing treason.
Oh, absolutely.
I just said that straight up, and then he really would have hit me. So, Dad, what do you think? Unmute yourself.
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, I don't have enough input on this. I don't know what the rules and regulations are for over there. The people look like they were okay. These clowns came in. We don't even know if they really are veterans, just troublemakers out there. You know, this is a hard call when you don't have all the information that you need. But to me, it just looks like some garbage came in, causing some nice people a lot of problems. And I can't say they were veterans, because if I was a veteran and I felt there was something wrong there, and I knew the regulations, I would have called the police, have the police come out and take care of the situation. So apparently, I don't think the people are doing anything wrong, and I really don't see that these guys were veterans.
Richard, are they trying to can you mute, Dan? Yeah, we're having a little bit of a technical thing going on. Are they trying to make stolen valor a felony similar to impersonating a police officer, or have they already made it a felony?
I want to say they've made it a crime. I don't know about a felony. I wouldn't be really the guy to ask on that. I'd have to do more clear research on that, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty much a crime now to actually impersonate military personnel or act like a veteran, or, you know. And I can hear myself.
Yeah, he keeps unmuting. Yeah, so if it is a crime and he actually isn't a vet, then he just incriminated himself. I know he supposedly he got that crazy guy did for for misconduct to start fights and things like that. Bad, I don't know that anything else happened, but if that guy wasn't a vet and he's admitting that he is.
You're frozen. Maybe Facebook's doing it.
Sorry about that, guys. My browser actually crashed right there, which was weird, and it also looks like Richard may have gotten booted as well. That was very strange.
So maybe Facebook's hacking us.
I can hear myself. So Dan, mute it. So the outbound broadcast on PSEC here paused when my connection took a shit, and now it's resuming live again. Now that I'm back, it says it's live. But what I was trying to say before it crapped out is that if it is a crime now, then that guy also just incriminated himself if he's not actually a veteran. That can then actually be looked into. And if he's not, then he's in trouble.
Well, I hope he gets some extra time in jail.
Yeah, that would be nice. Hopefully, Richard will be joining us back here in a minute. I think his Firefox or Chrome or whatever it is he's using might have crashed as well. Today's been a really strange day for computer glitches and internet glitches and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Coming back.
But yeah, Rich,
Welcome back.
I was just explaining that if that guy wasn't a vet, then he incriminated himself on camera, and he could end up potentially in extra trouble if that's investigated.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, not even just what could happen to his business or his quote-unquote status as a veteran, but I mean, just what could happen to his business, period. I mean, you know, he probably most definitely ruined his reputation as a business. I mean, because this thing's has already gone viral, and it's gonna, if Drudge is picking up on it, man, it's gonna go all over the place, you know.
Yeah, because Drudge Report was talking about this whole thing. That's where we found out about it in the first place.
Why would you put your business on like that and make yourself look like an idiot?
Well, he thought he was looking wonderful, but that's from his delusional point of view.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was probably from that stand.
Wonderful
That
portrayal.
Yeah, he was from that standpoint of like, you know, well, I'm a high and mighty, you know, look at me, I'm such a big, you know. He kind of had that attitude of, well, you know, I'm gonna act with impunity and use my veteran label as, you know, kind of a fallback, as it were, and you know, it totally backfired on him because he's thinking, well, I'm too big and mighty to fall, you know, people are gonna take pity on me because I'm a veteran, and you know, I have a right to go around harassing people at a memorial monument because I'm a veteran, and yada yada yada. So that's probably where he was coming from with that. And, you know, it's like, you know, he's being all arrogant and like, well, yeah, my business name is this and yada, yada, yada. My name's, you know.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to tell you. I'm a manly man. I'm the man's man. Raw, balls of steel.
He just made himself look like he was from the circus and he was a big clown.
Richard,
yeah,
Richard, do you still have his business reviews up? You said you were looking at reviews from his business, and
yeah,
his rating went way down.
Yeah,
and he already had some bad reviews on there in the first place, like the one where they hired him to cut down this one tree or something, and the guy was being all belligerent, saying, "You shouldn't have put that tree there in the first place."
Mm-hmm.
So you still are those
I'll put it in the bathroom so I get bad calls.
Yeah, there's like on here, his business address is 1070 Gilmore Avenue, Winona, Minnesota. That's public on Google, so I can't be called for invasion of privacy on that one because it's public information.
What's the name of the business?
It's called Reed's Tree Services.
And what's the website address?
It is www.reedstreeservicewinoa, that's WINONA.com.
Well, they should have told me.
And what's the phone number?
Phone number is 507-452-3885.
Now remember, folks, this is all public information, so we're not breaking any privacy laws or anything like that. He put this information out there himself for all the public to see, so we are only reading public record and nothing more.
And some of the The reviews on here are pretty funny. I mean, a majority of them are along the lines of, don't do business with this guy. You can't trust him. Just watch the video of him attacking and batterizing and assaulting minors and, harassing a pregnant woman, etc. But I'm scrolling down and let's see. Okay, what he did and lacked common courtesy, common sense. A lot of these are all made within the last week, so I mean they're recent.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear what the courts had to say on this one.
I would be very interested to know. Actually, I'd kind of like to see where the mugshots are of this clown, and see maybe if there were some other charges he was rung up with besides just disturbing the peace.
He looks like a real troublemaker to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
If the dictionary had a pictorial definition of asshole, his face would be in there.
Well, I could agree with that.
Would he be the ass or the hole? Man, I think if my dad had encountered something like that, he's got a little patience for that sort of attitude. It wouldn't have taken him 2 minutes to provoke that guy into swinging at my dad, and then that would have been on. Dad would have been just all over that.
You got that right. I mean, I would love to break his legs for him.
Yeah, let him know what you've been going through. Has the Agent Orange set in yet? Oh, no? Here, let me help it along.
So that's why I always take a ball back to the park. Break them legs. I'm surprised somebody didn't go after his legs. He's a big, fat screwball, and he's really off course, and he'd be an easy one for a broken knee.
Well, here's the review.
Once you break a knee, they go down. They're not coming back up.
Man, I would have said, are you gonna threaten to hit me, or are you gonna hit me? Because I hear a whole lot of words.
Not a whole lot of action.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the review that I was talking about, by a guy by obviously an online pen name of King Odafa Playasball or something like that. Is some weird name. It was done within the last week. Basically, it says the Reeds are a notoriously short-tempered family, have had the pleasure, and I'm guessing he's being sarcastic, have had the pleasure of knowing them personally for quite a while.
Well, those guys, they play on fear. They can see these people were easy, and they're young people, and they're not looking for any trouble. They look like they were really laid back, so he took full advantage. He took full advantage on them, and he knew he would put the fear in them, and he knew they would fall for it, and that's exactly what they did.
But the thing is they didn't fall for it. They not only stood up to him, but they did the right thing and called the cops.
Yeah, well, they were lucky they didn't get hurt too, because that guy was a stone idiot, and he wasn't thinking. He just wanted to, in a way, I seen that he wanted to hurt somebody really bad.
Yeah, he was looking for just for any reason to fucking land into somebody. And I really think a scumbag like that, like if it would have escalated more before the cops came, I mean, I really think if the cops weren't there, when that pregnant woman stepped forward and said, what do you have to say about me? He would have decked her, I think.
Well, I think they should have, when they called 911, they should have told the cop, looked like this guy's got weapons of some sort. The police will come a lot faster then. But I guess it didn't take them too long to get there. So
only a few minutes.
Because if the cops would have taken like sometimes Chicago does, I know there would have been a fight going on.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it would have been smarter to say, I'm not sure. It looks like this guy might be carrying a weapon. I can't tell exactly, but he's being very hostile, and we're definitely we're seeing
Yeah,
that we're in a bit of trouble here, and we could use some immediate
Immediate
help before
Like,
things get out
you
of
just
hand.
gotta say that your life is in danger. I think this guy's gonna kill me, and they will be out there fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, he was the way he was.
Yeah,
acting,
maybe this guy's been in jail a bunch of times already. Maybe that's why he said, "I don't care, I don't care." Maybe this is the type of guy that's always been in and out of jail for one thing or another. Maybe it's, you know, not a new thing for him.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
Hey, we got you. I hear him. Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, well, he'll be back. Sometimes his browser crashes on him. So there he is again.
Testing 1 2 3.
Yep, we hear you.
Yeah.
And double.
You know what I like to know what the deal is down there where those people were. What can you do and not do? And then why was this guy getting so upset? Because it didn't look like they were doing anything wrong. I don't understand. You're allowed to put up something like they put up. I don't know.
It was already explained. It was already explained on there. You know, the cops. Someone. Dad, mute. Someone had already called the cops on him, probably the same asshole, and the cops came down, and there was nothing that they were doing wrong. They just had the rain shelter out there, and they were just out there peaceably, and they were not violating any city, state, anything. They already described in the video that the cop is already out there talking to him and explaining that, they weren't violating anything, and the only thing they could do is say, "Have a nice day," and leave.
There were no ordinances that were being violated according to them, which I'd assume a police officer kind of knows shit about ordinances and, little local type stuff, laws, And if you look kind of closely at some of the different angles of the video, there's like a soccer field and stuff in the background. So it's like a multi-use day area sort of park. So, I mean, it's a public venue. It's not a cemetery. It's just a monument. It's a monument paying homage to, to men who have died, And I think it would be, if I were a veteran per se, I would be kind of happy that people are kind of hanging out near a monument, because even if they're playing around and they're having fun, maybe they'll go over and they'll read the names and they'll have kind of a quiet moment of reflection and, thinking about that sort of stuff. So I think it'd be kind of a good thing, instead of, discouraging them from being there and telling them that they just need to go home and hide inside because, Mr. Meany, fat, beer-drinking veteran said so, I just don't really see what the problem was there,
Yeah, and I mean, the cops that showed up in that video, if there was anything wrong, if there was any ordinances being broken, if there anything like the Chicago cops, the first thing they'd have said is, you guys realize you're not supposed to have that there, right? That's the first thing the Chicago cops would say if they think anything's being violated. You realize you're not supposed to be doing that over there with that, right? You realize you got to pack that up and get that gone. That's like the first thing the cops would say if they see any sort of violation.
Exactly.
And especially if there's a ticket write-up in it for them, because there's those quotas that they can't admit to, but they do exist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, they just said, pack your shit up and here's your ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here we would call it DNR, which would be the park police. The city police usually don't come in unless it's something really, really hostile.
Yeah, well, that was the Winona police, because we saw it written on the side of the police car.
And another thing, I mean, it's just, I'm sure the officers in question, that's probably like maybe the second or third time within that given day they've probably been called out there, and they're probably just rolling their eyes at this point. And I wouldn't be surprised if they took the, because if you notice at the end of the video, they grab the instigator, they take him off, and they say, you know, come with me, you know, get out of the view of the camera. And I wouldn't be surprised if they reamed him a new asshole over that and said, hey, look, here's your options. You can either be quiet, shut up, and stop being a nuisance, or you know, they probably gave him the list of options, and I wouldn't be surprised if he probably shot some smart-ass remark out of his sewer, and then, you know, that's when the handcuffs got slapped on, and they're like, okay, wise guy, you can go sit in jail and chill over it tonight and think about it.
Yeah, here's your misconduct charge for you. Yeah. Here you go.
Yeah, we tried playing nice, you don't want to play nice, so we're just going to put you in prison for the night, you know, put you in jail.
So Fenswitch was wiser than this guy. Imagine that. Because when the cops told her that same thing, she decided to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the only thing is now, will those people go to court? That's the other thing. A lot of people don't like to go to court. You know, they just want to blow it off, and these guys will basically get off again. Because they can just tell the judge, oh, we felt this or we felt that, blah, 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 unless the judge sees the movie.
Anyway, I should read this review, because Google cut me out the first time. Here's hoping it doesn't cut me out again. The Reeds are a notoriously short-tempered family, have had the pleasure of knowing them personally for quite a while, can confirm beyond a doubt that any behavior exhibited from them isn't rare, it's actually commonplace. A year and a half ago, when trying to remove a downed tree near power lines on my property, I was fervently questioned as to why I would allow trees to be so close to important things on property by several members of the Reed family. Explosive tempers, low self-control, non-existent tact, dozens of other more reputable and friendly tree removal services exist. I'd sooner let a tree sit atop my property than I would to call these antagonists. So it sounds like they're kind of the local neighborhood
bullies.
Bullies, yeah, that need to have their faces caved in with an entrenching tool, just to put it that way. Well, good thing he doesn't know my street address, or I might get a restraining order from the Reed family for saying something dirty. He said a threat. He said in his opinion that I need to have my face encaved with an entrenching tool. That's violent.
Because you're not allowed to give your opinion, because you didn't fight and bleed for it, so there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Any other funny reviews that are on there that are oh so colorful?
Oh, let's see. Okay. Would not recommend their search. Some guy by the name of Sad Rock said, hold on, Google's being temperamental, let me refresh.
Hey, we got to put this guy on the Jerry Springer show.
They should just put this guy in a cell with someone as equally cocky and hostile as him, but someone who has opposite opinions to him, so that, you know, you can just watch them fight it out.
Okay, I'm back. Anyway, a guy by the name of Sad Rock said, would not recommend their services to anyone unless you enjoy verbal and physical abuse from veterans, in quotes. This abuse comes from the harassment, battery, assault, and destruction of property, and many more. The one thing I can say about them remotely positive, though, is they don't discriminate and they clean up after themselves by calling the cops on themselves. The abuse is free of charge to all ages, though they prefer teens/minors races, though probably an increased amount if you're a minority, and sexes, especially if you're a woman and pregnant. Remember, they're veterans who give honest, hardworking veterans a terrible name. Amen.
Well, we still don't know if he's a veteran or not, so that kind of leaves it hanging.
Yeah. That's
I
true.
just think that I think there's in this instance there's a low probability that he would lie about it on camera, especially seeing as it's a crime now to claim that if you're not that. So, that would be dumb even for this dummy. And seeing as
Well,
if that's a local business, I think that
it's
if
a crime.
he wasn't a veteran, somebody would know about it and they'd comment saying, "I know this guy personally.
It's a
He's not
crime.
really a veteran. It's stolen valor."
It's a crime. It's a crime to take a $500 tent and push it over, and then, get on top of it and start kind of ringing on it a little bit, because you're temper tantruming like a little 3-year-old on crack, on methamphetamine or something, because you ain't getting your way. I mean, him threatening to beat the shit out of a kid who's underage, that's illegal too,
Mhm.
That's assault on a minor. I mean, technically him, kind of shoving into him and kind of leaning up on him is a form of assault, knocking the camera out of his hand and saying, "I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you," that's assault, And if I had been there, I'd saw him, I would have calmed him down real quick by saying, I don't want to, but you keep it up, you're gonna have a new nice little red asshole right up here in the forehead, and it's gonna be the size of a 45 caliber.
I don't say nothing. I just do it.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I would give the verbal warning. See, the thing is, it's really weird, especially in the state of Oregon. If you give a verbal warning, like saying, "Hey, think about what you're doing," I mean, pulling it and then threatening, that's menacing. That you go to jail for that. But actually giving the guy like a heads up and like actually warning him, there's no rule against that, especially if they're threatening you and they're they're trying to hurt you or do physical bodily harm to you.
So you can tell him in Oregon, you could say, "Look, I'm packing heat and you're getting dangerous, and if you get to the point where I need to defend my life, I'm going to pull my weapon, and if I pull it, I'm going to use it, and I'm going to be shooting to kill, not to injure."
Yes. Yeah, and I think in a lot of states, I don't know this for a fact, but I know I would imagine there's quite a few states where that statute is similar. You can verbally announce, "Hey, I'm packing heat, back off, cool down. I don't want to have to use it," And if you cooperate with the police and show them the weapon, let them, de-arm you and look at it, unload it, do whatever they need to do. Then they give it back to you. There's no harm done. If somebody's being like that, being that belligerent, and being a threat, I'm going to warn them at least before I, go to that level.
If he'd have tried that in Texas, he'd be full of holes right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have that guy that'd walk up and go, "Hey there, Mr. Veteran that I'm not so sure about. I'll be your huckleberry."
And then when the body's laying there dead, you take a white towel and you wrap it around the top of his head, and then you take a nice little strip of bacon and put it across his face.
Dave, I saw this one post from Texas. This guy went into a restaurant to rob him, and when he pulled out his gun, said, "This is a robbery." Everybody in the place opened fire on him.
Yeah, it's really stupid to do.
Or when he's laying there, you just pull out an ISIS flag and you just drape it over the body. It's like, well, he's obviously an ISIS member because only members of ISIS would act this way towards minors and pregnant women. He must be from the Middle East. They must have done plastic surgery or something to make him look like a veteran. He's probably, some sort of plant. You just say the secret phrase, you say some random thing like, "Oh yeah, Tina's going to be going and getting a a glass of, you know, like some really exquisite champagne or something, and then, you know, you see him like twitch, and he goes, Allahu Allah Akbar, my name is Ahmed. My real mission is to destroy the United States of America. I will attack the infidels. Ah, you know, and then he runs down in the street, starts snapping people's necks, and he goes nuts.
1952, we kicked them mothers out of here, and Nazis brought them back.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, you know, Wall Street is behind all that shit with the destabilization stuff. In the past, they started up these little fake Muslim groups because they didn't have control of the oil at that time, and they wanted to destabilize the region, to put in their little czars and shahs and little puppets over those regimes so that they could control the oil. And at that point, they switched the backing of the oil to the U.S. dollar, known now as the petrodollar. But, you know, now that, you know, they've got all that worked out, now they want to destabilize the world and jack everything else. So we got these ISIS boogeymen that are nothing more than the minority dumbest of the dumb fucking retarded Muslim Arab Forrest Gump rejects that are dumb enough to just believe anything. And so those fucking idiots get, you know, recruited, not even knowing that it's, you know, the CIA and Mossad and all these people, you know, recruiting them. So then they get recruited and sent into these false flags, you know, Paris, Orlando, this, that, the other, etc. And then, you know, the majority of the Muslims who've done nothing wrong, they get fucking blamed when they didn't do anything. And, you know, I tell those people, I'm like, look, silent majority needs to speak up. Otherwise, what are people supposed to think? I mean, if you got these radical idiots raising hell and the silent majority doesn't stand up and oppose them and say, no, these assholes don't represent us, then what's everybody else supposed to fucking think?
Yeah, but you realize, David, if this was during the time of World War II and it was a Muslim, they'd all be in concentration camps here because we wouldn't put up with it. We'd lock them up until this crap was over with, and we knew who was who. But today, you don't do that.
What we really need, and I'm not pro or anti-Trump, but what we really need is what Trump is suggesting as far as a way of detaining and processing people for a proper immigration process, because we haven't had a proper immigration process in decades now, at least. Our immigration process is fucking shit, and we need a process to where we can check these people before letting them through and giving them their green cards and whatever else. But we don't have a proper check system, and Trump wants to put one in. And then people are yelling like, oh, Trump's racist. Well, wait a minute. When Clinton back in the 90s said, hey, we need a solid immigration process so that, you know, we can keep shit in order, everybody's like, oh, Clinton, you're so great, you're so wise, you're so wonderful. Now Trump says the same thing, and all of a sudden, no, Trump, you're racist. It's like, what the fuck ever, guys.
Hey, you know what? Hillary and Obama and the rest of them clowns that are in office are making money off the illegal. And that's the only reason why they're here.
Oh, yeah. The thing is, most people don't know that, you know, most of these politicians, like, you know, Obama and people in Congress and whatever, they're just puppets. They don't control anything. They don't run anything. Corporations just make up bills and then they blindly sign them because all these people are bribed and blackmailed. So it's like the bribery part of it comes in when it's like, oh, we're going to have you put in this bill, and then you're going to get a little piece of the pie on the side. It's all about corporate. It's all about business. All these politicians are raking in all these side money. And now they've realized that their upper echelon masters are throwing them under the bus too, because now that they blindly signed in Obamacare with all the forced mercury vaccinations and all this, you see, these politicians used to have private doctors and special drugs and everything completely separate from the general population that's being slipped all the poison. Well, now Obamacare says, oh, guess what, Congress? You're going to get the exact same medical treatment as the general public. And Congress is like, whoa, wait a minute. So, you know, Congress is not really happy with their corporate masters, because Congress is seeing that their corporate masters are throwing them under the bus with the rest of the population. So things are really interesting now, because it's not just a simple matter of, you know, the people versus that, you know, minority percent of a percent or whatever. Now you've got all these politicians that are being thrown under the bus, that some of them are siding with the people to save their own asses. Others of them are, like, you know, going against each other, and very few now are still on board with the upper echelons. Hillary and Bill are a crime family. That's proven. That's right in with the Bushes. That's another crime family. So Hillary is one of the more upper, not completely top echelon, but she's pretty high up there. Whereas, you know, Bill Clinton is just kind of her stooge, always has been. When Bill was in the presidency before, we really had Hillary as the president. It wasn't really Bill. Bill was just feel-good Bill going around raping everybody and sticking his dick into everything. And you know, now basically, you know, the Hillary and Father Bush regimes are together, kind of, you know, puppeting Obama. But Obama's just as dumb as they fucking come. So, you know, it's a minority of the people that are in politics are actually running the show. The rest are just, you know, paid stooges. It's puppet politics. Doesn't matter who you vote in, the same corporations always get their influences wielded.
Well, you know what's nice? Hillary's opening up Pandora's box because of all the crap they're doing. They're knocking people off that are against them, and you don't do that kind of thing. And she's just opening up the eyes of the sheep now, and they're saying, wow, look at this. She's got her henchmen killing people that are against her, trying to show the public the truth. And she's having them knocked off. This is the craziest thing you could ever do. So she's opening up the eyes of the sheep now, and more people in the U.S. are going, hey, I can't believe she's doing this. Look at this. Why are these people all dying that are against her? Hillary.
Gee, why did James Comey let her off and let her loose? Well, probably because he doesn't want to get murdered by Hillary Clinton. That's why.
In a way, it's hilarious because she's left herself wide open, and she's killed people, she's robbed people, she has used a lot of our money. She's making money in Syria and Lebanon. It's unreal. They ship weapons to Lebanon, and they're selling them to Syria, where the gangsters are trying to kill our people. This is crazy.
Oh yeah, she's notorious for making backdoor deals with terrorist organizations and things like that, because the terrorist organizations are just set up by Wall Street anyway. Most people don't realize that. So all she's basically doing is being a crime syndicate business broker between Wall Street and the very terrorist cells that Wall Street helped design and put together and put into motion in the first place. So she's just being a broker for corporate interests. The world's run by organized crime.
Hey, look what Facebook did to me. They shut me down. How about that one, Dave?
Yeah, they changed your password. And then now you can't get into your email either. So when they changed your Facebook password, the only way to validate that was through email, because you didn't have a smartphone until now, so you couldn't hook up the validation through cellular. And now you can't get into your original Yahoo email now either. So you're completely locked out of your Facebook account. You're probably going to have to make a new one.
I told them they're part of the terrorist organization. I says, you got the government in there watching us and all the crap. I says, what you going to pull off next? And now I found out what they pull off next. They slammed me.
Yeah, well, you're not the first person to have this happen to them. There's all sorts of people that have gotten their passwords changed and their accounts straight up deleted and everything like that. You know, Facebook is notorious for, you know, harassing activists and harassing veterans and harassing people like that. It's been an ongoing thing. What else do you have to say, Richard?
Well, I mean, I'm really of the opinion that the 2016 election is probably one of the greatest elections we've seen in a long time. And there are a lot of people who look at me sideways when I say that, and they go, really? This has been the nastiest election? I'm like, exactly. It's had people on the edge of their seat. It's had people thinking. It's had people really looking into themselves. It's had people really thinking about the state of the nation. I haven't seen an election like that
Ever.
a long ass time. You know, the last one that I can historically recount on, you know, just from doing research, would be like the election of 1960, and that's when Kennedy and Nixon came on for the first televised debates in United States history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I would say 2016 is kind of contrasting to those comparisons in more ways than, you know, one. You know, it's people are kind of looking at their choices now. You know, they're going, okay, we've got this nasty witch of a woman called Hillary Clinton, whom we can't trust because she's lied blatantly to the American public, and it's so obvious that Ray Charles can see it. You know, I mean, it's so bloody nasty. It's just, you know, it's gotten to the point where people just can't be asleep anymore. People can't sit around and be justified and say that they don't care because
they can try.
It's out of control.
They can try, and they do try. There's still some people that are dead ass asleep. And then, on the other side of the coin, you've got Trump, who I don't really think is going to be a solution to anything, but I think will be a good start. He may be an arrogant, pompous ass, and whatever else anybody might say about him. But I think that as long as he's not eliminated via the selectoral college or assassinated or whatever, that I do think that he stands a good chance of, you know, setting a lot of good things in motion and bringing things to light. What most people don't realize is it's up to we, the people, to straighten out and learn how to conduct ourselves properly within this nation, because a nation is its people. You know, no one person or one small group of people are so powerful that they can just magically make a nation wonderful. It doesn't work that way. People have to be properly educated, and they have to be capable of thinking critically and using intuition and using discernment and, you know, being able to put right and wrong above what some unconstitutional law says or what some fucking idiot says in a presidential speech. So until the people get to that level, you're not really going to see this country running efficiently. But I think that Trump would serve as a good wake-up call to say, hey, you know, people got to get their acts straightened out, and then they got to keep them straightened out. Just like our founding fathers warned a long time ago. They said, look, we're setting this up, but it's your job to maintain it. It's the responsibility of future generations to maintain freedom and liberty, because freedom and liberty doesn't maintain itself simply just because you write words down on paper. The people have to know how to preserve that. And, you know, the banksters snuck in and started changing everything around the minds of the people. Like, you know, what Hitler said, you know, give me your children, and within 10 to 20 years you'll see a completely new type of nation. So, you know, that sort of Nazi programming has come in. Our current educational system is based on the Prussian education system. And the father of that is also the father of neo-Nazism, and it's what Hitler used to mind control Germany. And it's the same stuff that corporations through government and the mainstream has used to control the thoughts of our nation, as well as most of the world. And all these little deception games that they play, they're ancient. There's never been a war that has been legitimately fought for legitimate purposes. It's always been, the fucking bankers instigating things between two or more groups of people, funding both sides of the conflict, and making money in, through, and out of the whole situation. That's also why, when they talk about bankers, in biblical times, bankers were viewed as the scum of the earth. There's good reason for that.
I also smell a rat. First of all, I don't like with Hitler. I don't believe that what they said happened to him happened to him. I don't believe that he did die the way they said. I believe he got away somewhere going through Austria and made his way somewhere because they had sightings of him. And I also believe that most of the people in the different countries that we worked with and helped them, and later we said that they're not here anymore because we killed them. I don't believe we killed them. I believe they put them somewhere and we really don't know. I smell a rat all the way around the clock because look at how our government is today. Those Nazi bastards. They're all Nazis.
Operation Paperclip snuck a lot of the Nazis over, but yeah, Hitler made his way down to South America. That's on record. The whole suicide thing is a cover up. And they could have taken, any two bodies from anybody that, was recently, killed in the area, from warfare, and, burn the bodies and just said, oh yeah, that was Hitler and his chickie poo. That's them. They're dead. So everybody's thinking they're dead, that they poisoned themselves and the bodies were burned, when really, they took off to South America. And the reason supposedly that the bodies were burned is Hitler said, I don't want our dead bodies being, paraded through the streets in humiliation and all that, so please burn them. But the real reason I think that the bodies were burned is because it wasn't Hitler and Chickie. It was just two dead bodies that they pulled off the street from the conflict and lit them up and just said, oh yeah, that's them, after poisoning themselves and committing suicide. But really, they fled to South America, and people have seen him, and, it's on record him being down there, just like it's on record Operation Paperclip, where we took a lot of these, senior members of the Reich, and, people who were in charge of stuff that happened during the war, and also top, scientists and things like that, snuck them over via submarine and gave them positions here. Even NASA has its Nazi roots, as well as the CIA and a lot of other things, because they were thinking, okay, well, these guys are brilliant scientists and brilliant strategists and brilliant technicians and whatever, so let's put them in authority over these technical areas, because, oh gee, what damage could they possibly do? They're not being put into anything military. They're being put into civilian work. So what damage could they possibly do? Well, we see what damage they've done.
Hey, I got a goodie for you. World War II, the Japs. We put sanctions on them to piss them off. And they came. And before they got to Pearl, Australia radioed Pearl Harbor, it's on the books, that the whole Jap fleet was coming their way. They had time to get those ships out of there, and they didn't want to pay any attention to it because we wanted to get into that war. And then, from what I understand, Eisenhower and Patton. Eisenhower did not like Patton. Patton wanted to keep going, and go after Russia and take them out too. Eisenhower didn't want to deal with it. When Eisenhower came home, when Patton came home, he had an accident and was killed. And I think that our buddy Eisenhower had something to do with it. I smell I smell a rat in Denmark.
Oh yeah, and even bigger than that was that even after the war was officially declared as ended, Eisenhower set up his own concentration camps in Germany. The camps were mostly kids, and you know, he deprived them of food, water, shelter, bathroom facilities. They were just in an open field, exposed to the elements, and it was ordered that anybody trying to give them food or water would be shot on sight. And Patton didn't agree with that because it's like, look, you got Hitler that came in and butchered all these kids and everything and killed a whole bunch of people, and now we're gonna do the same thing as Hitler, but worse. I mean, at least Hitler didn't expose those people directly to the elements. They were housed in barracks and shit. But Eisenhower just did a full on Hitler plus. And Patton was just like, no, fuck that shit, I'm playing ball with that. So Eisenhower did not like it that Patton wasn't willing to play ball. So, in my opinion, that was part of the reason for the car accident. I think there's a great many reasons that Eisenhower and Patton did not get along with each other. A great many reasons.
And then there was the whole conspiracy around Harry Truman and MacArthur. MacArthur in the Korean War, led the Marines on to save South Korea, and what is today South Korea. If it hadn't been for MacArthur, the communists would have pushed all the way south to, through the Incheon Peninsula and all that, and they would have kept all that for themselves, and Korea would be under Mr. Fatso Kim Slim Missile the psychopath of the North, and how does Truman repay Arthur? He fires him as a general and tells him to hit the road, and that was mainly because MacArthur knew that the UN was a scam and knew that, us telling our war plans to the UN got us nowhere. It just got us behind in the world.
Yeah, the Tonkin Bay incident was also a false flag because we wanted to go into Vietnam for the rubber trees mainly. I'm sure there were other resources there too, but they wanted those rubber trees. So we did a nice little false flag and got ourselves involved.
Wait a minute. Those rubber trees, we were given orders if we were fighting in those plantations not to shoot up the rubber trees, but we kind of shot the hell out of them.
Yeah, and from what you told me, you also ordered airstrikes on them, and then went, "Oh, whoops! Was that a rubber tree field? I'm sorry. We had no idea."
That was napalm.
Dropping snakes and napes.
Oh, sorry. Were those rubber trees? Our bad. We didn't know. Wink, wink.
Drop some jelly gasoline on it.
Yeah, so getting into Vietnam, that was a false flag. Tonkin Bay incident, just like 9/11 was a false flag, because
well, I've seen the interviews with the North Vietnamese commander. I mean, they interviewed him, and he said, "No, I never commanded any ships to go out into the Gulf."
Yeah.
All my ships were at port that day. I don't even know what the heck they're talking about.
I think we wanted Nam because there were too many other countries after them that wanted Nam too, and so the French were in there for a while, and they sucked us into taking it over. and I think that the elite thought we were going to make a lot of money out of that, so they grabbed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. And a lot of people think, they are all worried, like, oh my God, Obama's going to declare martial law and this and that and blah blah blah. People don't realize Abraham Lincoln declared martial law, and he never repealed it. And you can't write an executive order unless you're under martial law. So people are worried about, oh my God, martial law, end of the world, violence in the streets, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you guys are way late. We've been living in martial law for a long, long time. Then people are worried about World War III. Oh, World War III's coming. Well, guess what? Since just after World War II, all the way up till now, this has been the third time that the world has been at war with itself, so I think people really need to learn how to fucking count.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what? It's all about the sheep. And the sheep get all scared. Everything gets all crazy, and you hear all this talk, and nothing's done. The liberals are a bunch of crackers, and we need to get rid of these liberals. And we need to wake up and thank God for the internet, because if we didn't have it today, we would really be in trouble.
Yeah, not to mention, it's a common. Can you mute? It's a common tactic. It's a common tactic of the elites to take people's minds and awareness off of what's going on around them now by saying it's something that's going to happen soon. Oh, there's a risk of this happening anytime. It's just up the road. It's just over there. Ooh, panic, be afraid. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. When really, it's already happening all around them already, and has been for many years. But they don't want people to notice that. They want to see it as, oh, this thing on the horizon that might be coming, and ooh, we better be afraid, and we better panic, and we better get ready, because ooh, this nasty thing is coming, to take our attention away from the fact that this nasty thing has been around us for decades.
Okay, the other thing I see is I've got some posts on the United Nations trucks. They're showing train loads of them. They're showing out in the South United Nations trucks on the road. And the states in the South are ready for that crap. And that's all. I believe it's all a government scare. And, they want to shake up the sheep some more. But I don't see that happening. These United Nations trucks, like I said, I think it's just a government scare. And I know for a fact that we got enough veterans out there to take these trucks out. There's a lot of ways to take them out, and I don't think nothing's going to happen. And they got the FEMA camps all over, and they're showing these plastic coffins. You could put 3 dead people in one coffin. That's all a bunch of crap coming from our government. It's a scare tactic. That's all it is. They want us to see them there. They're trying to scare us.
Yeah, because people who are panicking cannot coordinate, cannot cooperate, cannot strategize, cannot think. They just act like rabid dogs backed into a corner, and that makes people easier to control. So that's why, in a way, a lot of the so-called conspiracy theorists and people in the truth movement, patriot movement, etc., as well-intended as they may be, a lot of them fall for that scare tactic, and their minds get all fucked up, and then there ends up all this infighting and division and stuff, within these different groups, because everybody's brain is leaked out of their ears because they've been scared stupid with, oh, martial law, World War III, coffins, FEMA camps, the sky's falling, oh no. And a person's brain can only handle so much before it just turns to fucking pudding, and they're just an irrational, And I know, Richard, you and I have seen that happen to quite a few people. and it's why a lot of alliances within the truth movement usually fall apart about as quickly as they can be created, because when people's minds are in that state, they're easily butthurt over the smallest little fucking thing. So somebody says poo-poo about doo-dah, and then another person's like, how dare you?
And it's a total psyop. I mean, it's a total war psyop. It's, you know, and another thing that they seem to like to do is, you know, when there's like arguments on information or sources or whatever, people get all butthurt over that. They're like, well, I saw these sources and that's the only sources that exist. Well, there's other people who've seen other sources that point out different things. And then, you know, there's all this infighting and colluding between each other. You know, there's all this collision of data, you know, and people are kind of throwing bricks at each other saying, well, that's stupid because, you know, we saw this and not the other. Nobody's willing to look into anything because everybody already has their mind made up, you know, that they've seen the one and only truth, when in reality
they're all pieces of they're all equally valid pieces of a greater puzzle, and when you think that one piece is the whole puzzle, then you run into a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
there's still a lot of people within the truth movement, you know, there's still a lot of Americans out there who think they're awake when really they're only, you know, kind of half out of the daze, you know, they're half out of the sleep coma, you know. And
me and Dad were talking about that earlier.
When in reality they're more the way they are, you know.
Me and Dad were talking about that earlier.
I like the new scare they got out now, David. Our government's posting so that people will look at this post, and it says in there that Obama is sending all our troops overseas so Obama could take over the country here. And I'm laughing about it because our armies, our air forces, and everything, we've got plenty of backup here to take Obama and put him away. I mean, he can't send everybody over there. He can't send all our planes over there.
He also forgets how many veterans are.
Oh yeah.
It's not like the veterans have forgotten how to fight.
People that are in the armed forces now, they got families here. The families talk to them. They know what's going on. Come on, think about it. That's government putting this crap out to scare people. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And not only that, real information on that. I mean, and this is the real statistics I've seen right now. This is one of the toughest times in U.S. history to even, you know, get in as a enlisted officer, enlisted officer, that's an oxymoron, but to become an officer, it's like harder now than it has been since after World War I. I mean, it's so dang selective right now. And, you know, getting into the military right now is not even easy, you know, because there's simply no need for, you know, troops overseas or large amounts of troops overseas because we're not really fighting any conflicts anywhere. We're just, you know, going around from all of our different bases and, you know, kind of maintaining our basic defense coordination. But with the budget cuts and everything that's been going on the last couple of years, the military's been cut down to kind of ribbons, as it were. So, you know, I don't know what Obama's sending overseas, but it wouldn't be much.
Well, that's their plan. They want to eliminate our military as much as possible. That's why Obama's fired all these chiefs of staff and everything, because they will not listen to him. They say, hey, look, according to this and that, we need this and that, and you're screwing it up. And because you want this nation to fall and go under a Muslim terrorist thing, I mean, come on, figure it out. They got him in there to ruin us. They've infiltrated I bet they've infiltrated every state. They brought people right through by Texas and right on through. And I've talked to people from Texas, and they say, man, we can shoot them in our backyard. It's so bad because Obama won't put no troops here, so we have to take it up and take care of it ourselves. So, you know, there it is. There it is. So, our people that are in the Army, the Navy, the Marines, look, they got people here. They got families. And their families are saying, hey, what the hell's going on? What are we doing? And that's Obama's downfall.
The the infiltration is actually even worse than that, because what these Wall Street elites like to do, and especially so that other people take the blame for their misdeeds, they'll pretend to be Jews, they'll pretend to be Muslims, they'll pretend to be Christians, they'll pretend to be communist, socialist, democratic, every label, every religion, everything that you could think of, they'll pretend to be that. So then it's like they're in control of all these different chess pieces, basically, and they can manipulate all these, all these different chess pieces. So it's like most people don't realize, like ISIS. What does ISIS stand for? Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. Do you really think that Arabs in the language of Hala are going to make a freaking acronym that comes to some sort of solid English translation, like that? Of course not. The English acronym would be completely not rhyming at all if it were translated, but ISIS, come on. Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. And, people are thinking, oh, well, ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Hamas and oh, these are all different. And it's like, the fucking Mossad, elements in the CIA, FBI, all the way up through Wall Street, all these different agencies are all in control of these terrorist operations. As a matter of fact, it's even been admitted to that Al-Qaeda is the name of a CIA database, and that when the CIA was trying to put together all of these, these radical groups and build them up for destabilization, I do believe it was some prime minister in Pakistan or something like that went public with it and was really concerned about it, saying, hey, wait a minute, you've got these American government agencies that are coming into these Middle Eastern countries, and they're actually training these idiots in fundamentalist radicalism and arming them, and wanting to set them on a jihad in the region for destabilization. So it's like even surrounding countries like Pakistan complained about it and said, hey, look what's going on, this shit ain't cool. So they always infiltrate. As a matter of fact, that's how Hitler ultimately ended up getting fucked over, because the part of the elites that pretend to be Jews that are actually Zionists, and I do believe even David Axelrod is on record saying, I'm a Zionist. You don't need to be Jewish to be a Zionist. Anybody can be a Zionist. So these Zionists had infiltrated the Jewish heritage, I guess, presenting themselves off as Jews. So when Hitler saw that these banksters appeared to be Jewish, he thought that the enemy was in, the Jewish ranks, and he didn't realize that it was Wall Street control over everything. So the Tula Society ended up recruiting Hitler before he was anybody or anybody even knew his name, because they'd been grooming him from the beginning. The Tula Society, groomed Hitler in. And Hitler did not realize that this Thule Society was run by the very enemy he was wanting to fight against. It's like an ultimate Anakin Skywalker type of irony, because in a way, Hitler was like an ultimate truther. He was like doing the truth movement thing before the truth movement, in a way. He recognized the fucking Bavarian Illuminati or whatever else, they go by. He recognized the fiat scam of the Federal Reserve System and the International, Monetary Fund and all that. And he saw how it was being used to suck countries dry and pit them against each other. As a matter of fact, most people don't even realize that the biggest beef that the Allies had against Germany when they really started to dig into Germany is when Germany decided to go off the international standards. In other words, no more borrowing fake money from private banks as debt at interest. He saw through that scam, and he decided to create Germany's own national money that was, I do believe it was backed by gold. It could have been backed by something else, but it would have been a smart thing to back it by gold. So the Allies were like, oh, no, no, we don't like this. Because with his own money, he's able to build up his economy and become a solid industrial competitor in the world market. And any competitor that we don't have direct control over and we don't directly puppet the strings of, we don't want them in the market. So we need to crush Germany. So Hitler was actually used to destroy his own country under false pretenses, and they drove him completely nuts. So yeah, he totally cracked and became a complete psycho. They totally MK Ultra'd his ass, totally like the Emperor fucking distorting the mind of Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars, and they totally brain fucked him. So his enemy had their sights on him even before he knew about his enemy. So his enemy was already 10 steps ahead of the game. So Hitler was used to do the opposite of what he was actually looking to do, which I'm sure when he went to South America, he kind of tucked tail in embarrassment, because I'm sure he eventually realized what had happened, like, oh shit, I've been co-opted by my enemy, this is really fucking embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta love politics, right?
Yeah, poly means many, and ticks are blood-sucking insects. So ticks,
Oh.
many blood-sucking insects. That sounds about right.
Hey, we better call out the mutant ninja turtles to protect us, Dave.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, I think the American people should be less worried about the terrorists running around in the backwoods USA in turbans and more worried about the terrorist cell called Congress. That's the more immediate problem.
Yeah, but they're the ones that got these terrorists going in Florida and all over the place. And then and look at your look at England. Look at all these places where these terrorists are in there. That's all being pushed by our government. You got to know that.
Of course. Well, just like Trump said, Hillary and Obama run ISIS, and just like I've even said before Trump said it, I said, you want to find the head of ISIS? That's easy. He's in the White House, our president.
Look what Hillary did with Benghazi. And they lied and they lied and they lied. She got a lot of people killed. And there was ships ready, planes ready to go over there and help these guys out, and they called them off. And that's not a lie. That's a proven fact.
Yep, they've even made a movie about it.
Well, now we got the government has their laws, and we have our laws now. See, the government gets away with everything, but if we tried anything, we get screwed glued to that too.
Oh yeah, even even the FBI guy James Comey admitted that what Hillary did, people in the past have been convicted and punished, and people in the future surely will. But we just can't indict Hillary because she's Hillary, and it's just so funny how some people don't even see the obviousness of it. It's like, I had this one chick on DeviantArt who I just ended up getting bored with and stopped talking to because she was totally full of it, saying like, oh well, James Comey is a professional in the FBI. Are you saying, or how do you know that what Hillary did or didn't do counts as gross negligence or not, or blah blah blah? Do you think you know better than James Comey? And I was like, yeah, actually, I do think I know better than James Comey, because it's pretty fucking obvious as to what criminal gross negligence is. And I think that people should be encouraged to think critically for themselves and analyze data and put information together instead of believing some talking head on TV saying, well, we should blindly believe him because, after all, he's an FBI professional. Do you think you know better than an FBI professional? In this instance, I'm going to have the balls enough to say, yes, I do think I know better. And in fact, I think a 6-year-old knows better than to allow a fucking criminal, proven criminal, to run for president. But apparently not Chicky Idiot on DeviantArt. She doesn't know better.
Blindly believe, blindly obey, do not question.
Yep, war is peace, slavery is freedom, ignorance is strength. Oh yeah, it's the Orwellian way. I like that new slogan that's going around that says warring for peace is like fucking for virginity. That is so true. What part about bombs going boom, just making things go boom, don't you understand? Going boom isn't peace. You know what peace is? Arrest all the fucking criminals that are running all these countries and our financial industries and our banking and all this shit. Arrest them fucking assholes. That would be a good start for some peace.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe give them some new hemp neckties.
Yeah, no kidding.
Give them their time in court, or you know, put them on that island that I like to imagine. Nice little island, set up some housing and stuff for them there, and around the housing area, and give them full ability to maintain themselves and everything. But around that area, have like a 1-mile wide moat filled with crocodiles, so that if anybody gets voted off the island, it really puts a nice new spin on it. And then the island itself is guarded by like a fleet of, you know, military, you know, vessels to make sure no one can sneak them off. And, you know, make sure you give them plenty of food, all the canned GMO stuff that we'd be getting rid of because we don't want it anymore. And, oh, make sure they have plenty of medicine, especially their mercury-laced vaccinations. Give them all the poisons we don't want. You know, make sure their water source is nice and fluoridated. You know, give them all the stuff that they've given us, and let them suffer. I think that a quick death is too nice, and I personally would not want to be that nice. I would want them to be subjected for the rest of their lives under what we've been subjected to, and have 24-hour surveillance on it, which is live internet streamed, so we can just watch them kill each other. I think that'd be great. I'm sorry, Hillary. It wasn't my fault. Yes, it was. You're being voted off the island. No, not the crocodiles, Hillary. I like blowjobs, not shark jobs. I don't want all them teeth all over my willy. No.
Don't worry, Bill. They swallow whole.
Don't worry, Bill. The crocodiles don't spit. They swallow. Yeah, so I think that would be a good fate for them. Put them all on an island, dish out to them everything that they dished out on us, and just watch as they blame and kill each other. Watch them chase each other around with electric drills and trying to whack each other with shovels, and just going fucking apeshit, trying to take out their frustrations on each other for the predicament that they've got themselves in. Plus, you know, for people used to living so high on the hog and so wealthy, even a little, you know, middle class type of house would feel like a cardboard box to them. It would feel totally beneath them, as if someone just threw them out in the wilderness or something. So they would be very, very much out of their comfort zone and looking to blame everybody else around them and chasing each other around with power tools and shit and trying to kill each other. It'd make for some great comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone have anything else to say on any of these topics?
Just don't get your trees trimmed at Reed's Tree Service.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because they'll probably tease your plants and scream at your grass. Why the fuck are you growing? I sprayed Miracle Grow on you. You should be growing.
Your grass is an inch longer than standard, and that makes you treasonous and unconstitutional. And your grass is against America because I say so, and I'm a veteran. So now I'm gonna get out my flamethrower and burn out all your grass, and you got to start over again. Oh God, what's even funny is that his name is Reed. Harry Reed. I wonder if there's any fucking relation. I wonder if there's any fucking relation. You know, the guy who was all against the Bundys and the BLM standoff and all that. Harry Reed. I wonder if there's any family relation there. I mean, Reed, I'd imagine, is a pretty common name, so probably not. But it would be funny if there was.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, two assholes with the same name. One has actual, real, organized crime power, and the other's just a big, loud bag of wind who's drank too many fucking beers. Oh, God. Yeah, that's definitely fucking interesting, and, you know, I hope the lesson learned here today by all concerned is that, you know, whether you're high up in some political office on Wall Street, or if you're just some brain dead, inbred, fucking beer belly retard who the best thing he can say about himself is regardless of where you're at, let it be known that the internet and social media is a powerful thing, and if you decide to act stupid, and if it's just stupid enough, it might go viral on the internet, and you might make a complete ass of yourself globally, and then have all sorts of nasty comments written up under your business, like what happened with Mr. Reed. Man, if I would have been there, I'd have just been all right. Just curious as to which you are. Are you an oath-breaking scumbag under Obama's payroll trying to set up another precedent to get everybody's guns? Or are you just a pedophile mad that you can't stick your dick in these kids over here? So pick one, because you're definitely one of the two. Oath-breaking treasonous pig or rapist pedophile? Which one are you? Because those are the only two options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'd have definitely decked me then. Interesting times we live in. So, folks, be the best person you could be. Be the change you want to create. Be a good person. Do the best you can, because if you're a troublemaking fucking loudmouth, Triggly Puff, or Reed Green blowjob service, or whatever, yeah, you're going to get your ass handed to you on the internet. Hope you enjoyed your time in jail with your misconduct charge. Yeah, so Mr. Reed, if you're ever watching this, and you want to have a dialogue, feel free to give me a call. That's 1-900 go fuck yourself. Because I don't want to talk to no oath-breaking pedophile, okay? Have a good day. His dad's still here. He's actually been quiet.
No, I think he walked off. I don't know where he went.
He might have had to use the bathroom because I know that you know, all the stuff he'd been taking for his cancer and everything. He's been having some frequent flyer miles to the porcelain jet craft.
You know, it's ironic you say that, and I'm taxiing out or backing out in a 737 right now, and you just randomly bring up porcelain jet craft. That's kind of funny. Frequent flyer miles.
But
I'm
you're
flying airline.
always playing Flight Simulator, right?
Not always. Not always. Not always.
Usually.
Last night, I was in fact enjoying bloody karma or carnage. Why did I say karma? Carnage on another one of my first-person shooter games that I've got.
I think the elites might be enjoying some bloody karma.
What's your name? Oh, your name's Reed. Well, Mr. Reed, meet Mr. Big Black Willie. I'm gonna stick this Willie up your asshole. I'm gonna get drunk and disorderly with your ass. See how you like it.
You know what would have been? You know what would have been funny? It would have been funny if there was this flamboyantly gay male on the scene there, going, "Mr. Reed, can you please shut me up? Oh, I want your cock in my mouth." And like teasing him like that, and just doing like the whole like gay boy flirting with him and shit, and watch him get all triggered. It's like, boy, I'm gonna put my fist in your faggot face. It's like, oh, you want to fist me? Ooh, that sounds even more fun. I had a feeling you swung that way. Just like watch him get all embarrassed and shit. Like, argh. Oh, that would have just been fucking great. That shit would have just been too funny. I bet you he's a total homophobe too. Oh god. Just have some flamboyantly gay there, like, ooh, Mr. Reed, can I inspect your grass? Oh god. Hilarious. But if I'm not sure when Dad's going to return here. How long have we been on the Hangout?
That's a good question. Oh man, wish I knew where I could find that kind of information.
I think it doesn't track that. You'd have to be paying attention to when you started it, which I wasn't. I'd say it's probably been about a couple hours, give or take.
Yeah, I want to say that's about right. I think it was about 3 o'clock when we started, and would have been 5 o'clock your time, so, and it's 5 o'clock my time, so 7 o'clock your time. So yeah, probably about 2 hours.
Oh, and by the way, anybody wanting to see the original video from this event, other than kind of the makeshift, screen share one that we did, the title of the video is "Crazy Vet Vandalizes and Threatens Me and Other Pokemon Go Players." I mean, I'm not at all a fan of Pokemon Go, but that's what the subject line is, so anybody who wants to find the direct video, with the full audio and everything that isn't being filtered through a screen share, kind of hodgepodged in, you can then just do a YouTube search for that, and it should come up for you, and no problem. So that title again is "Crazy Vet Vandalizes and Threatens Me and Other Pokemon Go Players." So search that through, and you should find the original with no problem. I wonder if Mr. Reed is going to be searching for all the different, videos and stuff posted and that are talking about him. I think when I fill out the full description for this episode, I think I need to make it as easy for him to find as possible in my description. That would be good. Then he can hear what a real veteran and a real man had to say about him. Man, if Agent Orange kicked in for Mr. Reed like it kicked in for my dad, and he had to go through what my dad's going through, I have a feeling that this guy'd be a complete, total wimp, crybaby pussy.
Mm-hmm.
My dad just totally has handled everything like a boss, but I could see this Reed guy crying like a little whiny fucking scared bitch. It's like, oh, where did your balls go now, Mr. Tough Guy? Yeah. So it should definitely be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if anything ends up like in court over this, like if any families decide to like file lawsuits. I mean, some of the people there were minors, which means their parents might think, oh, I don't like how my child was treated and how other people were treated, so we're just going to get together and file a class action lawsuit against Mr. Reed and his family.
Mm-hmm.
That could be an interesting possible development that could potentially happen. Not that it will, but it could. Or if he were to end up not being an actual veteran and that were investigated into and, he was slapped with some sort of a charge for impersonating one, or any number of different things that could happen that could end up making news. That would be kind of funny. Oh, and one thing I was going to say earlier about division in the truth movement, and the patriot movements and stuff in regards to all these psyops and, pitting people against each other to where, they're just so afraid and panicked and their mind just, leaks out of their ears, and then they end up, getting easily butthurt over stuff and sabotaging alliances and stuff like that too. The truth movement and patriot movements are, whether anybody likes it or not or wants to realize it or not, are governed by their own air of political correctness that, oh, it's not professional and it's not appropriate if you say this, say that, do this or do that. In and of itself, it's very Orwellian. It just like how it's, in an episode that I did, not too long ago, where I decided to, not do the political correct thing anymore, and I explained what happened between me and Chris Geo of Truth Frequency Radio Network. I explained what happened with me and JP of Wolf Spirit Radio Network. I explained what happened with me and Sean Carone of Truth Frequency Radio Network. And I think in order to not create more division, it's very important that, these things be addressed politely and supportively. So, I told people, they have been doing great work for humanity. Go check out their stations, their shows, their various networks and all the stuff that they're doing, and please be supportive. But, I just don't like the division attitude that I ran into from them. And it's just astonishing how easily people are willing to just dismantle alliances. I mean, people who say that the most important thing for them is uniting humanity, and that it's important for them that everybody drop their stuff with each other and just be mature and unite against our common enemy. They say that, and I'm sure at least to a point they believe it themselves. And, they talk a good talk and spin a good yarn, and I agree with everything they say about it. But when it comes to talking their talk and walking their walk, when push comes to shove, they're very happy to not put their stuff down with people. They're very happy to break alliances at the drop of a hat. I mean, with Chris Geo, I don't even know what happened. I said something or another that aggravated him, and when I asked him what it was, he just won't tell me, and he hasn't talked to me ever since. You know, JP is one of those people that, always talked about how, because he's more on the spiritual side of things. He's talked about how it's important that, as we gain more momentum with people in our message, that we not succumb to guruism and ratings and hype and narcissism and, be all about the numbers and all about what's popular and this and that. And then he surprised me by going on content, la la la, and it's like totally, having that attitude with me that he always said he despised. And then of course with Sean Carone, all it literally took is me asking him a simple question for the alliance to be dissolved, for him to unadd me on Skype, and then for him to write me a bunch of choice words in TSU private messages with all sorts of ad hominem attacks and various accusations, which, I mean, hey, peace and love out to them all. I wish them all well, and I still encourage everybody to support their work and support their content. I'm just not going to play the political correct game anymore. I'm going to talk about these things that happen. I'm not going to go, oh, well, I shouldn't do that because it's unprofessional and naughty and whatever. It's like, no. If this is really the truth movement, then truth should be allowed in the movement. Otherwise, it's just the same Orwellian bullshit by a different name. So I think that's another important point. And I think that in order for me to promote an attitude of, people putting their stuff down with each other and promoting a spirit of unity without being a full-blown hypocrite, is that when I name names and I talk about things that happen, that I do it in the most loving and respectful way, which still encourages people to, check out their stuff and to continue to support them. So that way it's more like, having an intervention for an alcoholic that you care about, telling them that they have a problem. And it's not like, oh, fuck you, you're a horrible person or whatever. Nothing like that. So I think that if we approach these things in a very loving and mature and responsible way, that eventually it might dawn on people, oh yeah, maybe it might be a little silly to, get all butthurt at the drop of a hat over really nothing, when we have bigger enemies to face and bigger fish to fry, and the only way we can do that is together. So hopefully I'm acting as an example of being that change, which I'm sure will upset quite a few people, but oh well, that's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm.
People don't like being contradicted. They don't like being told that, maybe there's a little error in what you're doing there. And they freak out about it. But we're all programmed with the minds of the elites. That's the main thing people forget. Oh, Dad's back.
Dad's back. Hey.
So, Dad, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I had a long distance call from my friend across the street, and I had to talk to him for a little bit. It's been really nice talking about all this stuff, and I hope a lot of people will understand and get into things a little better and do a little homework, for your freedom. Don't be slapped in the face, because one day you're going to wake up and it's going to be gone, and we don't need to lose our freedom. Too many people died for it, and like I said, when people burn this flag of ours, they are burning people's families, fathers, sons, daughters that died for this country, for freedom, not for our government, for this country, for the people, we the people, and that's the way it's got to stay. God bless them all.
What's really funny to me is that if you look back in the history, the Pledge of Allegiance was actually written by a communist in order to sell American flags, because it was when the Industrial Revolution was really picking up, and now we had greater ability to mass manufacture and produce all sorts of different items in factories and in these various plants and using machinery. And American flags were definitely on the list of things that this technology was being used to mass produce. So obviously it helps to keep a market maintained for that sort of thing. So you come up with something like the Pledge of Allegiance, which if you look at the words of the Pledge of Allegiance, is basically just telling you blindly obey the corporation. Because it's saying, I pledge allegiance to the flag, not to the people of this country, not to anything that matters, but a flag. And pledging allegiance not only to that flag, but for which it stands. Well, what is that? What is that flag standing for and being run by now? What has it been co-opted by? All these corporations that have unwittingly used our military as a bullying force and resource jacking force for the world. I mean, so many veterans have come back home so disgusted they think they're going to fight for their country, and all they're fighting for is rubber trees and oil and whatever else. And it's
Money
a huge
for
slap in
the
the face. The huge slap in the face to the vets.
Hey, Dave, the
Hmm.
next time you talk to your friends, ask them if they know what the Star Spangled Banner is about. So many people do not know. It's not funny. They don't know what those words are all about. It's amazing.
Well, Richard, why don't you explain that one, seeing as you like to explain these sorts of things?
Well, the Star Spangled Banner, I mean, that's one I haven't really researched actually in depth, but Star Spangled Banner, I mean, being our United States
National anthem.
Yeah, that's our national anthem, being the national anthem of the United States.
Well, it's about the British and the Americans,
Yeah,
And the
British,
the British tried to take our flag out. They tried to blow it to hell because we wouldn't take it down, and we couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Probably
written by
because
Francis
the
Scott
flag was
Key.
still there, yeah.
He was on board a ship
Yeah, exactly.
out in the river, and he was overlooking the port that was getting blasted by the British, and was so inspired by the sight of the flag next to
But the people don't know that. A lot of the holidays we have for veterans, the people, some of the young generation today are really stupid on that. I couldn't believe it. There was interviews with young people, and they couldn't answer it. They couldn't say what that day was, what it was all about. I can't believe this crap.
Oh, I've seen some of the Mark Dice stuff where people go around like asking what Veterans Day is all about. They'd go, how do you feel about Neil Armstrong being commemorated on this great Memorial Day weekend? And they'd go, oh, well, I think NASA deserves to be remembered, and it's like, dude, he's totally
Trolling you.
trolling your ass, and you don't even realize it. Or people, thinking 4th of July is just a day to celebrate and have barbecues or something. It's like, no, that was the day the Declaration of Independence was signed in Philadelphia,
Wasn't there one where Mark Dice was pretending to be from the Obama administration, pretending to get signatures for something ridiculous like the total banning of free speech to protect our rights, or renaming the White House to the Obama House, or like just something completely asinine like that?
Well, I remember one time he passed this thing around where he was like, oh, we need to round up everybody who's who's a free speech advocate and a gun owner because they're a danger to our freedoms and they might be domestic terrorists. You know, I just need your signature. Yeah, that's it. You know, and he actually got people to fucking sign it because people are so freaking ignorant and stupid and don't pay attention. It's the duty of every American on a basic level to pay attention, you know?
Yeah, well, the educational system has taught us to do the opposite, to blindly obey, otherwise naughty, naughty, naughty. Oh, if you ask a question, you're a disruption. You're a bad boy. You're a bad girl. Shut up. Don't think for yourself. Don't use your imagination. Don't be creative and just shit in, shit out, regurgitate, repeat, and just be a good little mindless slave.
Mm-hmm. I've had a few encounters with teachers like that in high school, at least one that I can remember, and that was my junior year history teacher, and she got all pissy at me, and then, you know, because class was starting and I didn't want to create a scene, you know, I decided to be quiet, you know, just because I didn't want to create a scene, and class was fucking starting. She thought I was just being all compliant. She's like, oh, no, you did the right thing. You shut up. You let me lecture you. That's good. You know, it's like, no, it's fucking not. That's, you know, telling people not to critically think for themselves. That's, you know, that's not good. That's bad.
Well, that's what all these zombie movies are about, in the zombie apocalypse. It's a metaphor. It's for the people walking around like zombies and knowing nothing and just blindly obeying and just roaming around, just eating stuff without knowing their food is poison, drinking stuff without knowing what, etc.
That's our sheep.
Speaking of sheep, I guess the Trump-Clinton debate's going to be set to air against the NFL football schedule, man. And now Trump's accusing Clinton of rigging the debate schedule.
Well, yeah, they're hoping that the sports fans don't see the debate, but Hillary's forgetting one thing. Most people who are sports fans these days also are in the 21st century with internet access, and they'll figure, okay, well, I can just catch the speech on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And they will, too. Yeah, so it's like, you know, Hillary thinks that, you know, if she rigs the schedule, that it's going to keep sports fans from watching the debate, because sports fans is obviously a large section of the voting populace, and she's hoping that maybe she can avoid embarrassing herself in front of too many people. But they forget, you know, hey, you know, people can just catch it on the rerun through, you know, YouTube streaming and things like that. All that shit always goes up on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Maybe they'll. I don't know, but I keep thinking if she makes president, there's going to be a bloodbath. I still got that feeling because the veterans ain't going to stand for it. There's going to be a revolution. I posted that, and this guy came on and he says, well, who's going to be in the bloodbath? I said, the people that want their country back, you idiot. You know, why would you even ask that?
Yeah, no kidding. The people who want it back and who can fight. Because at that point, it would be totally proving once and for all what the selectoral college is. It says it in Constitution class. It's admitted in there that what the electoral college is for is, if Wall Street doesn't like how the people voted, then they could just flip the vote to be whatever they want. It's just it creates so much cognitive dissonance and people don't want to think about it, so they forget about it. And then these days, a lot of people, you mention what the Electoral College is really about, and they're like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. That's nonsense. But if Hillary gets in, it'll be completely apparent to most people as to what the function of the Electoral College is. Because if, like, things continue to escalate in Trump's favor, and let's say Trump gets let's say 70% of the popular vote or more, let's just say, and then all of a sudden it goes through the electoral voting system, and the vote's completely flipped around, and the electoral says completely opposite of what the popular vote says, then that's going to call it right there. Because in the past they were able to do the flip because the popularity rating of each candidate has always been almost neck and neck, But I think this time there's going to be a big gap. There's going to be way more people for Trump than Hillary, and they're going to see that in the popular vote. And then if they rig it with the electoral and it gets flipped around, people are going to go, wait a minute, there's some monkey business going on here. Even Hillary supporters will be forced to be like, whoa, that election was stolen.
You know what tickles my fancy is the fact that Trump he comes out and says, our government's a bunch of crooks. I mean, I've never heard anybody before get up there and say that's running for any kind of election, that our government is crooked. And now even Texas is telling our government to stay the hell out of there because they're trying to steal land. And they told them, they said, you start coming over here, we're going to meet you at the gate, so stay the hell away from us. And they're fighting the government to keep them from stealing land from them. That's really wild.
Yeah. I hope other states decide to follow suit on that.
Oh, they are already. A lot of those southern states are all hot on our government for the crap they've been pulling.
A lot of people also don't realize, people are thinking, oh, the states should succeed from the union. They don't realize that there hasn't been an actual union, since 18-something, when Congress secretly committed treason, dissolved the union, and formed the United States of America Incorporated as a for-profit corporation, so that everything under it is just a corporate subsidiary, and they have complete Wall Street control and dominance. And I don't know if Wall Street existed back in those days, but the banking elite, the top 1% of the day, whatever it is you want to call them, they hijacked it at that point. And people forget that the United States was never, ever, ever, ever meant to be a country. It was meant to be a union of sovereign states. The only reason that they had Congress and all that to begin with is because back in the day, you couldn't hop a jet and go to DC. You couldn't exchange information on the internet. There wasn't the level of technology we have today. So our representatives back then, at least in theory, dealt directly with the population, and then once or twice a year, whatever it was, they would then meet in Washington to then, discuss the State of the Union and what needs to be done. And those travels would take anywhere between a few months and several months, or excuse me, a few weeks to several months, depending on, where exactly in the United States they were coming from, because they didn't have cars and they didn't have jet planes and they didn't have any of the technologies that we took for granted. So having a Congress the way we have it now, which is the same way we had it then, it would be the equivalent of still using the Pony Express for mail delivery instead of using modern technology for mail delivery. So the way our government even functions is completely fucking antiquated, and this whole thing can be governed without a federal government at all. No presidents, no executive branch, no judicial branch, no legislative branch, fucking none of it. Each of the states being sovereign, each of the representatives that we have being for a much smaller area, local area with less people, and have way more representatives, and then just use technology from there. And so that way your representative also won't be isolated from the people like our current representatives are now. That way, your representative's got a storefront office in your neighborhood, and you can come in and drop in and talk to them. And so if they're doing a really shitty job, then, you know, the people in that area can then fire that representative and, you know, then replace them. That's the way it should be. And you don't need a federal government or legislative branch or any of that. You just need a bunch of different representatives from each state to communicate with each other via electronic means. This is the 21st century, and it needs to be in a completely open, transparent system so where the general public can log onto the internet and see exactly what's being said. No more legalese and all this cryptic bullshit. No more blindly signing bills. None of that shit. Make everything fully transparent and no more federal government. The federal government is as antiquated as the Pony fucking Express. It is no longer needed. The states can function on their own, unified into the union that was originally envisioned by our founding fathers. That's what the EU was trying to copy. When all those countries joined the EU, the European Union, they didn't cease to be their own sovereign European countries. It wasn't called the country of the EU. It was a union of European countries. And the United States was supposed to be a union of sovereign states. If it would have fucking stayed the way it was supposed to, there probably wouldn't even be a Canada. All those provinces would be states in the Union. And those provinces would be independent, sovereign, and free. That's probably would be the way it would roll. And then, you know, that would have spread through North America and would have ended up becoming the North American Union, not in the globalist Nazi way, but a natural evolution of sovereign states trading with each other and pooling their resources. And then probably South American Union, African Union, etc., similar to what the globalists envisioned, but not in that nasty way, just as a process of natural evolution of sovereign states learning to cooperate with each other and trade with each other and do right by each other. So it would have just been a natural process of maturing. But no, we didn't get that. We got a bunch of shit.
What do you guys think about 9/11?
Inside job, of course.
Well, yeah, considering they allowed a couple of Saudi Arabian nationals to come into the country on nothing more than a expired visa and a passport, and then they go to flight school, and they're not really interested in learning how to fly typically. They're just learning how to barely fly a Cessna, and then they somehow manage to get to the level of being able to fly a 757 or a multi-engine commercial airliner just magically for no reason, going from a Cessna to a 757, which is a hell of a jump. You know, figuring out how to shut off the transponder, and amazingly how North American air defense, just for whatever reason, for whatever possibility, was not active that day, and the only planes they had, you know, had ground ordnance on them. They send them out flying over the Potomac River somewhere, just flying in circles, waiting for imaginary Russian bombers, you know, and then, you know, somehow managed to evade some of the most sophisticated air defense networks on the planet, you know, and slam 2 aircraft into a couple of skyscrapers in New York City. One slams into the Pentagon, and then one crashes in a field in Pennsylvania. You know, it's totally.
That was a rocket. That wasn't an airplane that hit the Pentagon.
Yeah, that was a missile.
That was a missile. Yeah. You know what?
All the stuff I've watched about it.
Think about it. If an airplane would have hit the Pentagon, it would have burned it up with the jet fuel. That missile came in there and just blasted an area, and nothing was really singed. They had a lot of wooden material up there that was not singed at all. And then these clowns were watching them come in to the airports on the video. They had them on the videos. From what I understand, there was even people that were wanted by our federal government, and they never touched them. So it was for money. I believe that Bush's family made a lot of money on that. because they made a lot of the weapons that we go to war with, and Bush was just itching to get back into the war so they could make more money. I could just feel it. And when I looked up his background and I saw the Hitler crap, I said, wow, 2 + 2 is 4, baby. Yeah. And this one lady, she actually saw the missile that hit the Pentagon, and saw, I forget who the news people were. This one guy interviewed her, and she was terrified. So, and then I didn't hear no more, didn't hear about her dying. So I assume, in my opinion, that somebody come in and paid her off and told her to get lost.
Or threatened her and said, if you say anything, you're going to mysteriously disappear to never be heard from again. But that hole in the Pentagon was too small. I mean, you figure something with a wingspan that's much wider than that hole careening in.
The thing is with aircraft, and you got to remember the amount, they actually did a investigation. The NTSB did an investigation on that. The National Transportation Safety Board did an investigation, and you can listen to all of the ground control footage or the ground control audio and all that stuff. They tracked those planes all to their destination. They all went where they went. There's no question about it. All the people that were on those flights are no longer with us. They're dead. They're gone. They're no longer around. And the thing is with the Pentagon, I remember watching a documentary years ago. It was a National Geographic special they did on, the architecture around 9/11, and the Pentagon, although, it had been built around the time, following World War II, they actually did go through several upgrades during the Cold War to make it nuclear blast resistant. So, the plane itself, regardless of whether or not it's a missile or an airplane, the building was designed to withstand a nuclear blast. It was upgraded and designed to withtake a nuclear explosion or from a nuclear attack.
JP4 burns really hot. I used to do suicide missions in Nam at night, driving tankers. A JP4 crossed Vietnam to strips where they had bombers and jets, and man, when that stuff gets hit, it burns super, super hot. And when they hit with this 9/11, one of the firemen said there was explosions that shouldn't have been there. And later on, this one fireman that retired, he told the news people, he said, at the time, I couldn't really say anything because I didn't want to lose my pension. But he said that was a big setup, and they use chemicals in there that burns through that metal and weakens it. And then there was explosions after that to drop it. And there was a chemist and another scientist that worked with metal, and that sucker just burned way too fast.
Yeah, not to mention, there have been witnesses that were in the basement levels of those buildings when the plane hit, and just before the plane itself hit, there were explosions in the basements to destabilize the center beams holding up the buildings. There were explosions actually in the basements, and there was this one firefighter or somebody who said that they were trying to get into the lobby on the first floor of one of these basements to go up the stairs and assist people coming down and so on and so forth. And the lobby was just completely blown up instantly. Boom! By a frickin' bomb. So you've got reports of basement explosions before the plane hitting, and then lobby explosions, just after the plane hit, long before any junk or debris or anything could have made it down to ground level. And, and then you've got firefighters reporting that they saw explosions, out out windows that were way below where the plane hit, as the ship was coming down and everything.
There's also official reports and estimates that when that plane hit, it hit the elevators and it caused all of that explosion of jet fuel and everything else to, cascade down the elevators like a freaking freight train, blasted down into the lobby and the sub-basements. And a lot of that went on too. When the planes actually hit, red hot jet fuel went careening down that elevator.
Hey, I kind of called this. I kind of called this one in a way, because you remember what happened the first time? It was a van full of emissions, and they tried to blow it, and it didn't do a lot of damage. It was down in the parking lot down there. You remember that?
Yeah.
Big explosion. Okay, I was sitting with my friend.
92.
Yeah. I was sitting with my friend at the lakefront here in Chicago. We were watching a practice for the air show. And I told my friend, I said, you know what? They're coming back. I didn't know how. I never thought about airplanes. I said, they're coming back. And a few years later, there it was. Unreal.
About a decade later, but yeah.
That kind of scared me.
Yeah, so that, the jet fuel rushing down the elevator shafts, that explains the first floor. But the basement was prior to any of the planes hitting.
It's possible they could have had, it's like you look at the Oklahoma City bombing. I mean, they had that thing set up for weeks. They had agents going in and out of there with suitcases and, God knows what, white vans driving around, guys checking power boxes and, saying that they were checking things out and not really giving any real answers. And
similar for the World Trade Center. All of a sudden there was all these upgrades, these mysterious upgrades going on, which also had the head of security over there at the time very, very suspicious. It's like what the fuck's all this shit for?
Did you hear why the Pentagon was hit?
Yeah, I did. Because there was paperwork evidence of money laundering and all sorts of other nefarious nastiness in that particular section of the Pentagon.
I read a post,
and they wanted to eliminate the evidence.
Yeah, and
also building 7, which basically went down after the news announced that it had gone down, the Solomon building, and it's still there in the background while the lady's saying, oh, and the reports are that the building 7, the Solomon building, just collapsed, and there it still was behind her. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, the same.
There was all sorts of evidence of something or another, paperwork or computer files or what have you, in building 7 as well, that they wanted destroyed.
That's where they had the main evidence. And not only that, a few weeks before the 9/11 attacks, there was a insurance claim that was
Lucky Larry.
Yeah, that was like for $1 billion or some crazy amount like that.
I read that on a post that there was tax money, billions of dollars in tax money that disappeared, and they were looking for it, and they were going to come out to the public and talk about it, and those people were killed in the Pentagon to keep their mouths shut.
And all the paperwork and everything about that was in that section of the Pentagon. And as far as Building 7 and Lucky Larry, he purchased something like a $1 billion, anti-terrorist insurance or whatever it was on there just weeks before that thing got hit.
Something that was actually for it was like aircraft collision insurance and a whole bunch of this other crazy ass insurance. And it's like, and then it fucking happens.
And then the stupid idiots on the news and Building 7, it was damaged and I was being asked, whether or not we should pull it, and the time came and I decided that we should pull it, and so I gave the order to pull it. And pullet is a very, very specific demolition term.
You notice how quick they got rid of those buildings? They didn't want no evidence showing up.
Yeah, no kidding. They took all that evidence and bye-bye.
You know what I don't understand? Why didn't they show more of the airplane that hit those buildings? They didn't show a whole lot. There should have been a lot more. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's funny because they couldn't have shown the first aircraft because it went live on the news after, you know, the plane had already hit. And it was funny when Bush was on TV talking about when he saw the first plane hit. It's like, oh, really?
They showed one video and they tried to say that there was a bomb, like a missile built into the fuselage of the one airplane, and they tried to show where it would be, but I don't know about that.
Well, some people think that the planes that went in were remote-controlled UN planes or something, which, you know, the technology is there for it. I can't rule it out.
Well, I've seen the footage, and I know that those were real airlines. Like I said, all of the airlines they were using were legit. You know, the flight numbers were real airlines that were real in the real world. You know, they weren't fake. You can look this stuff up. It's public domain. The first one was a United 767. You can see the battleship livery as that plane slams into one of them, and then the American Airlines 757 that slams into the other building. I mean, they were both real aircraft. You know, they were both registered on the FAA flight plan roster and everything. They were real flights that were headed to real destinations with real people on board.
You know, those wackos didn't plan that. That was planned by our, you know who.
Our government.
That was too good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and not to mention the maneuvers they would have had to know how to pull off to do it don't even seem possible for them. And could they have put some sort of a remote control system in a passenger plane? Of course they could have. They could have totally hijacked it via autopilot.
This one
the technology's there.
This one technician, this guy that deals with all kinds of metals and heat and stuff, he says, you know, the way that building went down, if you was to drop a mantle off of that building at the same time and blow it, the building beat the mantle down. That's how fast that building came down. Now, a mantle is a really heavy object and really falls fast.
Oh yeah, I've seen video where they did forensic testing and they made all sorts of different models out of everything you could think of to test the physics, including playing cards and everything else. They did all sorts of tests on the physics and said, okay, well, if that worked that way and if that was right, then this should work this way, etc. And, you know, they went into some really good illustration on that. I forgot exactly which video that was, but it was pretty interesting. They were very scientific about it, and this guy actually, you know, built models, you know, right there, and was a scientist, and, you know, built it in his garage or whatever it was, and, you know, was going through and taking you through, you know, step by step, and pretty interesting.
This one guy said that worked in the building that one elevator shaft was closed off for a few months. So that's where they worked on doing what they did to the building so it would fall faster. And probably the other building was the same way. But he had mentioned that elevator shaft was closed off for a long, long time.
Yeah, there's all sorts of anomalies with that. I think the most important point is that we, you know, people need to stop debating about the who, what, when, where, why, and how of 9/11 and just agree that it's an inside job. There's some criminal shit, so let's unite and go get the bad guys. But when people are too busy fighting over, oh, it was planes, it wasn't planes, it was missiles, it wasn't missiles, it was thermite, it wasn't thermite, da 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 da, that just wastes a lot of time. If everybody can just agree it was an inside job done by criminal elements in our government, then we could unite and go somewhere with that. But everybody's distracted with all these, different theories and speculations, when the truth is none of us are ever going to know exactly how in the fuck it went down, exactly all the details, until we bring all these assholes to justice and fucking interrogate them and get it out of them and obtain any other paperwork, documents, records, whatever that pertain to these things and outline exactly what happened, how, and why. Until then, we're not going to know.
No. Yeah, but you know what, Dave? By that time, all them schmucks are going to be dead. It's just like Kennedy. You notice they changed everything where Kennedy got hit. They changed everything around completely.
Mm-hmm.
What was that bullet they called it? Not a smart bullet. There was a name for it.
Magic bullet.
Yeah, the magic, all right, with about 5 shooters.
Yeah, no kidding. But, if people wake up quickly enough, this might not end up being like another Kennedy thing, because if we wake up quickly enough, we could have all these criminals behind bars and be able to make those investigations.
Gotta wake up the sheep first, Dave.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have to wait 40, 50, 60 years for that to come out.
Well, they told who killed Kennedy. Castro, Russia, the mob, and look how they tried to lay it all on Oswald. And then look what went down with Ruby killing Oswald and everything. What a setup that was. I said, wow, unreal. I was just getting out of high school when that happened. It was just too phony.
Oh yeah, they had multiple shots and multiple directions, and the grassy knoll shooter. And,
single action rifle. Come on, cut it out.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Russia was necessarily involved, but definitely the mob. I think it was Eisenhower who hated the Kennedys too, and wanted them wiped out.
Yeah, but Kennedy wanted to get out of Vietnam, and they didn't want that because too many people were making money on it.
And plus he wanted to put an end to the Federal Reserve. He wanted to get rid of the fiat money system, and so then he created the silver certificates, gold certificates, and so on. And those did not last long because that was a direct challenge to the Fed.
He didn't create. That's actually not true. He did not create the gold and silver certificates. Those have been in circulation long before Kennedy ever got in office.
Okay, then what did he do?
What he created was, and Walter, you've probably seen these notes back in the day, and I wouldn't be surprised if you probably got a few of them laying around somewhere, but they're called United States.
Yeah, I've seen them.
United States notes. They've got red seals on them, and basically what the United States note is it basically brings the currency back to the American people instead of having it in the hands of the Federal Reserve, which is, a globalist, corrupt bank, that basically exports our dollars to foreign bank accounts. Yeah. It basically makes our money not monopoly money that they control.
It makes it real money.
Dave, that's just like the oil shortage. How phony that was. As soon as, before they had a ceiling and they couldn't raise no prices on nothing. So they created an oil shortage. So now they said, whoa, we have to take the ceiling off. So all of a sudden, the ceiling goes off, we got oil again. Wow, it's just magic overnight. And look
not to mention, we haven't ever actually needed oil because Nikola Tesla figured out how to generate electricity completely for free, and a lot of these technologies are starting to be rediscovered and resurfaced. So now you have all sorts of stuff like, you know, magnetic engines, this, that, and the other. So, you know, you got these technologies starting to surface again that can actually generate and create energy, rather than just, you know, burn a fuel and create waste. And, you know, and not to mention, oil, petroleum is also not a fossil fuel like most people think it is. Um, it's been proven to be the lubricant between the Earth's crust and the mantle, and the mantle is very, very hot. And just like oil in your car, if you didn't have a lubricant between very, very hot things and things that were not supposed to get that hot, the engine would burn up. So
The
similarly,
viscosity comes
the
in.
Earth's crust, would be turned into a molten piece of shit, if not for this petroleum layer that is, you know, the lubricant between the crust and the mantle. As a matter of fact, what they've discovered is when they tap into an oil well and they drain it completely dry, because those oil wells are nothing more than little cracks forming from that area between the mantle and the crust, forming in the crust that go then all the way up to where, you know, we see the deposit to be. um, Once those are depleted, 10, 20, 30 years later, when they go back and recheck those same oil wells, well, golly gee, they're completely full of fucking oil again. Ooh, I wonder why. Because it's not a fossil fuel. It's the stuff between the mantle and the crust. So of course, as the crust pushes against the mantle and it's squeezing, some of that lubricant is going to push up. So eventually that's going to go back through the trickle trail again and refill that deposit so that it can be used again. And that's exactly what does happen, and that's one of the biggest dirty secrets of the oil market. When an oil well dries up, it's not permanently dried up. You wait a few decades and you can retake from it again. It's completely filled back up because all that stuff just continues bubbling back up again until it gets where it was. Just because we took it from that section doesn't mean we stopped the Earth's process of pressurized, you know, pushing up of that shit through the cracks. So it's not fossil fuel. So even the whole oil crisis thing is a big fucking lie. Oh, there's a shortage. We're gonna run out. Oh, we found out a long fucking time ago what oil really is and that it's not going to run out. There's no way to deplete every drop of lubricant between the crust and the mantle. There is like no way in fucking hell. I mean, we would use it to pollute this atmosphere into total inhabitability before we would be able to deplete all of what's between the crust and the mantle. Come on. Yeah, all a big joke. So we haven't even ever needed oil. And even if we technically did, which we don't, there's no shortage of it. And even if we did need to continue using it, which we don't, there are, of course, ways to, you know, take the exhaust from having burned that and redirect that to a more positive use instead of polluting. One technique that was come up with is you take the exhaust from a fuel burning power plant and you take those pipes and instead of letting it, you know, smoke off into the atmosphere, you redirect those pipes down into into a water reservoir that you're growing algae in. So you basically got these big algae ponds or algae lakes, and most of that exhaust that goes in there is CO2. And algae's sole purpose in its life is to suck in CO2, turn it to O2, and multiply its numbers. So we've even found ways to, you know, take those plants and turn them into oxygen generators instead of polluting generators. So, I mean, even in the meantime, if it could just be common knowledge that, yeah, there's no oil shortage, then we could continue to use the oil for our, and I think Richard just dropped off, he'll be back. We can continue to use the oil, for our power plants, and then switch all the cars over to electric. And then all of the electricity that would be powering the cars would then be powering them cleanly, because the fuel that is being burned, the exhaust, would be put into these algae ponds, and then it would then create oxygen instead of polluting the atmosphere. So yeah, everything's just a big fucking money game. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons why, in my opinion, why the government does not want people to know that there's life elsewhere out in the universe isn't because they think that, oh, well, we can't handle knowing that there's other life out there in the universe. Their biggest fear is the question that we would ask those visitors. We would say, gee, must sure take a hell of a lot of energy to travel the cosmos like that. How does your power source work? And the answer to that question would bankrupt the oil industry overnight.
Hey, Dave, government doesn't want anybody to know anything, even in their own midst. You take NORAD. There's all different sections there, and everybody has a different security system. That's where the president goes in time of a nuclear war. And every section there has a different security for the people going in there. Like, you couldn't go into another section because it's a different security. I mean, our government's crazy.
Oh yeah, I know. That's how they build things too. Even when they're building something, different contractors only get to design a tiny little bitty piece of whatever it is they're building. None of the contractors are allowed to talk to each other. None of the other contracting companies working on their sections are allowed to talk to any of the other contracting companies, and everybody signs non-disclosure agreements and all that stuff. So even when the government builds something big, like an underground base or whatever it is they're working on that requires a bunch of contractors to come in and build it, even all that is so fucking compartmentalized that the right hand has no clue what the left hand is doing.
Well, what they do is they take whatever they're building, and eventually it comes together somewhere where the people there know exactly how to put it together and do what they got to do. But that's the way that works. Everything is like crazy hush-hush. It's just like Agent Orange. That's been hushed up for so many years it isn't funny. What people don't know, the Navy, 25 miles off the shore, over 90,000 sailors have Agent Orange and more coming. It's crazy. And the government didn't want to help them because they weren't on that 10-mile or 12-mile line. They said, oh, you were 25 miles out. You couldn't have Agent Orange. Yes, they do. I talked to a guy, he lost his foot because of Agent Orange, and he was 25 miles out. And all through the years, they kept it hushed up. A lot of people don't know what Agent Orange is, and it's like it stays cocooned inside of you, and one day it decides to come out. Everybody gets it in different ways. Some people have 100% disability. Some people lose their arms or both their legs. I was lucky so far because I got it. And when I was in the hospital at the VA, I never even thought about Agent Orange. And 2 doctors were talking, and he said, that's typical Agent Orange. And what they found was a lymphoma. And a lymphoma, there's like about 10 different cancers for lymphoma. And my chemo doctor, when I was in his office, I said to him, this is Agent Orange, isn't it? He nodded his head, yes. It's unreal. And they don't tell nobody nothing. They don't want to help nobody out because they want us to die.
Well, here's what else people don't know. They don't know that now they're spraying Agent Orange over all of our food So everybody has Agent Orange. It's in the air, it's in the water, it's in the land, it's in the crops, it's all over the place. And thank you, Monsanto.
I was just about to say thank you, Monsanto, for Agent Orange dioxin. Yeah, I've seen documentaries about the Vietnam War of guys in PT boats that would go through a fresh sprayed defoliated forest. You know, and the rivers would be soaked with Agent Orange. They'd wash their clothes in the river. They had no idea they were bathing in Agent Orange, and you know, years later they paid the ultimate price for that.
Yeah, you know, I've caused a lot of collateral damage in a gunship, but I'll tell you what, just think what Agent Orange has done to those people over there, because they don't know what the hell's going on. Sickening.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
People also don't realize that things like Agent Orange and all that, like if our bodies and our immune systems were fully up to par like they're supposed to be, the body is designed to be able to kick toxins out. If it's not supposed to be there, it gets kicked out. But as our immune function lowers, it's not able to kick it out. It can only quarantine it. And as it gets even lower, the quarantine can't hold forever. Now, as you know, chemicals react with other chemicals when they combine. So we've got all these different types of poisonings that our bodies are subjected to: barium and aluminum and mercury and a zillion other, different types of poisonings that get, quarantined in our body. And then, of course, there's the natural chemicals our bodies are made out of that, because they're chemicals, they can react with other chemicals, some in positive ways, some in negative ways. So all of a sudden, one day, these quarantines for all these different toxins start breaking, and you've got Agent Orange and mercury and all this other stuff just having a field day in your body and mixing with all of your other bodily chemicals and just, wreaking complete carnage inside of you, because it's, it acts like a ticking time bomb. And if our nutrition was where it should be, we wouldn't have any of that. And if we weren't, vaccinating little kids with high doses of mercury and shit, and just all this other crazy shit, there is an endless list of crazy shit that they do to the population that if we were to go over each one of those in the list, we'd just never get finished talking, because there's just too many things that they do to us. And all of that comes together, and that's why each person has different symptoms, ailments, and whatever, because it's just like making a cake. It depends on the configuration of ingredients that will then decide what kind of cake you end up with. So sometimes it's vanilla, sometimes it's chocolate, sometimes it's dog shit and arsenic, whatever. It just depends on the configuration. And all these people in different parts of the world with various lifestyles and being exposed to more of one thing, less of another, and everyone getting the whammy put on them. Of course, when things kind of hit critical mass inside the body and things start breaking down and all this, that, it expresses itself in different ways. Just like they discovered that even aging is a disease, but, if you think it's just a normal part of the human condition, then you're not really going to work to try to cure it. But what science has figured out is that there's actually a chemical that your body can produce that lengthens the telomeres of the cells instead of shortening. It's just that we got all this emotional and psychological damage done to us through the programming, and we're not taught that what we think and what we feel and what we believe literally commands our brain. And our brain is in charge of how much of what chemical is put into the bloodstream at what time, and it regulates all the different glands and things. Like a lot of people, when they get their thyroids glands thrown out of whack and they either lose weight extremely or gain weight massively, people look at it and go, oh, well, the thyroid just went out and that's why that happened. It's like, no, that's kind of like saying, oh, you're coughing, so that's why you have the cold. No, that's a symptom of the greater problem. In all of these instances, each of those people had succumbed to high amounts of stress in their life in various forms. And you can only handle so much stress because stress literally has electrical charge. People take for granted that their central nervous system that they feel with and think with and breathe with and that runs everything is actually a biological machine. It's electrochemical fucking wiring and circuitry, and you can blow that out. Just like you can blow a breaker in an electrical box. You can create damage through all the emotional and psychological stress you put yourself through, and you got all this corrosive stress hormone going through you. Stress hormone is so corrosive they use it in anti-organ rejection medication because it shuts down the immune system. And if the immune system is shut down, then it's not going to attack the new organ, thus giving the body time to assimilate it and accept it, as a part of itself. So if the synthetic versions of the stress hormone are capable of shutting down your immune system, is it any wonder why people are getting sick all the time and they have all these diseases and disorders and everything? I mean, even aging itself has been proven to be a result of just the amount of abuse that we put on our bodies physically, emotionally, psychologically, and in every other way. There's only so much the body can take before it starts to malfunction and break down and not work right and do stupid shit. You can only beat something with a hammer so many times before it smashes apart. But then people say, oh, that's normal. It's not fucking normal. Abusing ourselves is not normal. Making ourselves sick is not fucking normal. There's nothing normal about it. You don't see animals fucking doing that to themselves. Oh, why does a redwood tree live 150,000 years and not a human? Well, gee, because a redwood tree hasn't been putting itself through all of the torture and abuse that human beings put them through. So yeah, it's just, there's a lot of things people don't know about even how their bodies work or how anything works, because we're not taught any of it in school. We're taught mindless, useless bullshit. The vast majority of everything I learned in school has been flushed down the mental toilet. Maybe 1 or 2% of it are things that I use actively. Obviously, we all learn to, to read and to write and multiply and divide and all that good stuff. So those things we use actively. But everything from high school is garbage, and most things from elementary school are garbage. Never use them, never will use them, completely irrelevant. And that's what we waste people's fucking time with for 12 years. Sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, depending. And then if you end up having a lovely college experience. But yeah. But people are starting to wake up to this shit, thankfully. It's happening. Does anybody have anything else they want to say, or should we end the live stream? Or we've been on for at least a couple hours, so.
Oh, at least 3 now. Yeah, I don't feel I have anything else to add besides don't go to Mr. Reed's tree service. They'll scream at your kids, and you better hide your kids, hide your wife, because he's raping everybody out there.
They'll rape your dog and send you to the Amish to live for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Daddy's still there?
That's right, I defended your rights, so that means I'm gonna shit on you. 'Cause fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Dad's still awake over there?
He looks like he disappeared somewhere again.
Probably the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think this has been a good discussion, and it's probably about time to close it down.
I think so, yeah. I think we've been hitting things right on.
Yep. So thank you everybody. Thank you everybody for tolerating us if you've made it this far. Hopefully it's been entertaining, informative, and at the very least let you refill your bucket of popcorn at least once. So guess that's all we have to say. So catch everybody later. Peace out. Signing off.